What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with Leverage Media, and welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about Facebook, Google Ads, Instagram ads, a lot of lead generation type platforms or ads, and how they do not give you a competitive advantage in your practice. And I want to talk about what does, what are the things that really do, start to separate you from the herd in your local community. So a lot of chiropractors, have jumped on the Facebook wagon. Some have jumped on the Google wagon as well. And when I started Leverage, it was 4.5 years ago, and very few people were running Facebook ads at the time. So there was an advantage to doing that. Back then, there were less people doing Google ads, so there was an advantage to running those ads. The problem is the reason I say that they're not competitive advantages, even back then, is that anybody could come along at any time and do the same as you or better. And if that's the case, then those things fail to be a competitive advantage. At least it's not a competitive advantage in the long term. It's not something that's going to continue to grow as an advantage over time. As I'm sure you guys have seen, the amount of chiropractors that are all basically doing the same thing have pretty much, I basically ruined it for everyone in terms of because there's so many offers out there, they're so similar. Every single one of them looks the same. To where people, I believe, just tune them out, or the same people click on different people's ads and they just kind of go around to different offices getting $21, adjustments. So the advantage is really building the brand, is content marketing. It's your relationships. It's your the way that you're seen in the community, your expertise. If you have started a podcast and you interview other experts around town, now you have those relationships that you've started to build. And that's the kind of competitive advantage that can really start to grow over time. They call it the flywheel effect. The flywheel is, if you've ever read the book, actually, I think it's probably back here somewhere, Good to Great by Jim Collins. They talk about the flywheel effect in that, it starts slow. The flywheel is very heavy, and it starts slow. And then as you start to pick up speed, it starts to use its own momentum, and it starts going faster and faster and faster and faster. And then it doesn't take any effort to maintain it. And the nice part about the hard things is that most people aren't willing to do them. And so if you're able to, kind of swallow your pride, if you're okay with things not, being a blockbuster out of the gate, and you're willing to put in the time, you're willing to put in the effort, that, over the 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, 5 years, that flywheel starts to pick up speed. The benefit of that to all of those things that I said were not competitive advantages were, those start to become more successful over time as well. So, my advertising for my own practice tends to do better than a lot of our clients because I've been doing it for 5-6 years, very content focused. And so we have built a brand locally. So the thing that made me think of this was yesterday I was doing a call with an office in South Carolina. It's kind of like a suburb of a bigger town. And there weren't a lot of chiropractors, so it wasn't super competitive. They had an okay website, so they were showing up pretty well in the map pack, and then they were also showing up in the organic results. But they had a joint that was advertising in the bigger city. They were kind of like nearby that suburb, but they were in the city. So the joint wasn't going to show up organically in the map pack because they had a different address. So anyway, they were showing up at the top of the page when somebody would do, a chiropractor near me or chiropractor city state search. And, right now the joint has an advantage over those other offices because they're not running any advertising. They're not competing with them. on Google Ads. But if like this office hires me, all of a sudden the joint is going to be showing up in a lot of number 2 positions because we're very aggressive with our Google advertising, and we want to make sure that our clients are at the top of that page. So their competitive advantage is completely wiped out because one office makes a decision to hire me, and now all of a sudden the joint loses out on that market share that they were getting because they just had unfettered access to those really important keywords. And that's what I'm talking about is like, I guess it's a competitive advantage until it's not. And, in marketing, everything is going to catch up to you if it's easy. The stuff that's not going to catch up to you is the stuff that takes work, that takes effort, that takes time, takes you thinking about it, takes time executing it. You got to, fail a little bit, try other things, and that's why it's good to work with experts that, have already kind of been through that, and you get to hit the fast forward, and they have structures and plans and strategies that, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. But when you put that hard work in, when you put that effort in, because you're competing at a local level, the chances of somebody in your local community also being willing to put in all of that hard work, especially when, almost all chiropractors are running the business as well as seeing patients. So it's hard sometimes to execute on all the things that you need to execute on. But if you're willing to, fight through those walls and fight through that difficulty, on the other end of it, that's where the flywheel starts to pick up speed. That's where your competitive advantage comes from. And that's a stable competitive advantage. Because if you've done, let's say you've done 5 years of hard work, you've done all the right things, you've built the relationships, you've built the expertise, you've built the brand, and then you're also doing all of the lead generation stuff, effectively and, best practices. It's going to be hard for somebody to come in and at least overnight be able to catch up to you. Now, maybe they're willing to put in the 5 years of hard work, but I don't see it very often. And I look at, I see a lot of offices, a lot of different situations, and I just don't see a lot of effort being put into most chiropractic marketing. So if you, as an individual, are willing to say like, yes, I'm willing to put in the hard work, then that's going to pay off big time in 3, 5, 10 years. And, most of us are in a position where we're going to be in our practices for a whole lot longer than 10 years. So that's where your competitive advantage comes in, and it becomes easier and easier over time. But you have to put in that hard initial work. So hopefully that helps. I know that a lot of people think in terms of, when they think in terms of their marketing, they think in terms of tactics, bottom of the funnel, lead generation type stuff. I need to put $1 in and get $3 back. But you've got to think about it a different way. And you got to think about, planting so that you can harvest later on down the road. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a mind shift on some of the marketing that's out there, or maybe something that you're doing. So hope this one helps, and I will see you on the next one.